Well, last year we restored the 65 Shelby. The year before that, we did the Hemi Challenger. The year before that, we did the Baldwin Motion Camaro. This year, we thought we'd do this 69 L88 car, a Corvette, a fiberglass car, a whole new bunch of techniques for restoration, a whole new bunch of ideas for you guys to take home and use in your own garage. This car here is a 1969 L88, one of 116 built, both coupes and convertibles, probably one of the ultimate Corvettes. Well, when we first got this restoration, unlike some, a lot of times they get delivered to us in baskets, this one here was a really nice run and driving car. At first we thought we'd wash and wax it, send it back to the customer, and then we got looking a little bit closer. And what we found is the paint's really starting to crack all over the hood. It's starting to spiderweb. Around the edges of the fiberglass, especially in some of the corners here, it's starting to crack. It needs to be stripped. Some of the components on the car, although are 99%, we've got a few small problems. If you look at the convertible top here, there's a mark in the middle of it. And it really doesn't matter if it's got a slice through the whole center of the top or if it's got this mark. If it's going to be a complete ground-up restoration, show car quality, that means that that has to be replaced. Same thing with the chrome plating on the rear bumper. The rear bumpers are 90% there, but there's a bunch of pit, there's a bunch of marks, it's fairly wavy. This car is going to be a show car. The other thing we talk to is the customer and see what are the parameters he wants for this car. What's it going to do when it's finished? Is this car going to be an NCRS top flight car? Is it going to go to Bloomington? Is it going to be a street car? Well, when Larry talked to us about this car, he had this idea that he wants a top flight looking car, but he also wants it to perform better. Can you imagine that? Perform better than an original L88 car. So what we decided to do is build a stroker motor, do some suspension modifications, and make sure that this car quality-wise is as good as it's going to get. We're going to put all the markings on it. We're going to do it like an NCRS top flight car, but we're going to enhance it a little bit. And that's what the customer wants. That's what the customer's paying for, so that's what the customer will get. Now, this car here, because it is complete, running and driving, we get the opportunity to check out some things before we start the restoration. The reason we're taking this car for a test drive is when the car comes to us complete, it gives us the opportunity to make sure all the gauges are working. If we take it apart and we didn't check it beforehand, we didn't know what worked and what didn't work. There's no point sending out the tack if it works just fine. If we have a look here, the speedo seems fairly accurate, the tack seems fairly accurate. The gauges are moving. We've got water temperature just starting to come up. Our oil pressure is good. The ammeter's working. The fuel gauge seems to be working. Even all the lights in the dash are working. That's really good. It saves us time during the restoration. The clock is the only thing really that's noticeably not working. Now, if we go to the wiper assembly, we check that because these are all vacuum run. Quite often these things don't work so well. We turned on the wipers, they're working. They go back down. And the hood comes back down on it as well. Same thing with the lights. You want to check the lights. They work off vacuum. These ones here popped up nice. This car here is actually a very good running car. When we pulled this car out of the shop, we noticed a puddle of oil. Looks like the rear main could be leaking. So generally that isn't a big deal. We're doing the motor anyway on this thing, and Larry wants us to build a stroker motor, but we want to check the block and the main cap itself, make sure there's not an issue there, a crack there. So this test drive is really to try and diagnose any existing problems that would help us with the restoration. When we get back, we're going to go through the rest of the car and make some notes. Actually, a pretty nice driving car. Now, there's a couple things we did notice on the drive. One, the clock doesn't work. Secondly, the side glass is fairly scratched, so we're going to have to address that. We're going to have to get some date-coated glass for this thing. Now, under the hood, the parameters are, it has to look original. We can't use a set of aftermarket heads or an aftermarket block. He wants it to look like a stock L88, but with somewhere around 600 horsepower, 600 foot-pounds of torque. We're going to do that with a stroker piece. Well, the next stage is to totally dismantle this car, and that's what we're going to do between now and next week. And then we're also going to take it and start stripping the paint and seeing if there's any surprises in the body. By the looks of the rest of this car, I don't think we're in for any surprises. I think it's going to be a relatively easy restoration, but we are going to have some fun doing the performance modifications that Larry wants.